Brother and lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. I promised the video controversy, and here we are with another one. Controversial video. I'm naming my top 5 best performers at Arsenal this season. I've decided to do this video before the end of the season because I think at where we are, players deserve more credit because we were never expected to be here. I know at the end of the season it might not end as we want. We might not end in the top 4. We might not even end in the top 5. You never know what's going to happen at the end of the season, and that's why I've decided to give these players the credit they deserve at this moment. It's a very controversial video because I've dropped Aaron Ramsdale. I'm telling you for fact, I've dropped Aaron Ramsdale, and you're going to see the player that I have replaced him with. I've gone with statistics. I've been backed by numbers as well, and also my season-long watch and impressions. Which players have impressed me the most? And those impressions really convert into statistics, numbers to help Arsenal onto the top 4. That is what I've gone to do. I've gone for. Smash a like on the video. Consider subscribing to the channel as well. Let's get the party started. So I've started off with Gabriel Magalhaes in number 5, and with Gabriel, I've compared him with Kieran Tierney, Tomiyasu, and Benjamin White. I think the Arsenal defense this season, for the better part of the season, it has been very, very solid. Apart from the first 3 games that we saw at the beginning of the season, where Rowe played with Mustafi, and I do not remember that back 5 that we were using. Absolutely awful. But ever since Gabriel Magalhaes, Ben White partnered together with Tomiyasu and Kieran Tierney, ever since that started being our back 4, we've been really very solid. And I think Kieran Tierney gets more credit because among the 4, he's been very key in providing that press, in adding to the press, and also creating some chances for Arsenal up front. Why I've dropped Kieran Tierney and I've gone with Gabriel is the reason is I think he needs to be more reliable. He needs to play more games. He needs to be more durable. The injuries, he's suffering are really going to cost him. Already, we've had Arsenal looking at Valentino Livramento, and that shows you that Arsenal do understand the importance of his role, and they do understand that he's a very important player. But the fact that he cannot be available 24/7, at least 30 games in a campaign, that is massively worrying. So Kieran Tierney, I've dropped him. I don't think he's played enough games, and even if he's played 27 in this campaign, I think Gabriel Magalhaes has played more games and he's done quite better defensively and also going forward, and I'm going to give you my reasons. Benjamin White has played more games, almost the same number of games as Gabriel Magalhaes. Their partnership has been very good, and Ben White deserves a lot of credit coming in from Brighton, because he had only played 1 season in the Premier League, and for a lower side to come from Brighton, make that huge step to Arsenal, and then with all the demands that come with this Arsenal side, and if you look at our average age, 23.4, in the league, the youngest team in the league, you think it was a heavy task for for him as a player, and the price tag on his back, 50 million. Look, I think he's really done well, but I don't think he's really done better than Gabriel Magalhaes. Tomiyasu as well, massive credit for coming in from Bologna, and he's really done well in terms of coping with the Premier League, and also giving us that shape and structure of how Mikel Arteta wants to play in a back 3, especially when Arsenal is in attack. But why I've gone with Gabriel Magalhaes, guys, honestly, Gabriel has been outstanding this season. If you look at the number of goals he scored this season, 3, but how important have they been? 1 goal that brought in 3 massive points against Wolves in that game where we won 1-0, and of course the other game that also brought in 3 points. Those are 6 points. The goal against Leicester City. He also scored another against Southampton. So for a defender who scored 3 goals for you this season, I think that only adds adds more value to him as compared to other defenders, especially Kieran Tierney, who goes up front so much. He's not scored many goals, and I really don't blame him because look, he doesn't really need to score. But my thoughts there, a centre back who is having an XG, expected goals, of 3.8, and he's already scored 3 in this season. That is so good. And one of the things that you've got to praise Gabriel Magalhaes for is the aerial ability that he provides us with. Of course, we said this in the summer, that Ben White's aerial ability is suspect. Of course, after coming at Arsenal and settling in, I think it's become a little bit better. But when it has always come to dealing with huge players, dealing with high balls, it's always been Gabriel Magalhaes, and then he just gives us that kind of stability in defense. He talks a lot. He's a commander. You can see that he really is a good defender, and I think this Arsenal back line really holds more water. It holds more glue when he is on the pitch. So Gabriel Magalhaes in the top 5. I think many people don't give him the credit he deserves as a player. But if you look at him, at his performances in that period where Arsenal have not lost games, in that period where we have not been conceding so many goals, this season his performances have not dropped below 6.9 rating out of 10. Actually, at the beginning of the season, his if you look at that curve, his statistics was 6.9 out of 10, and then it rose almost up to 9 out of 10, and now it's a little bit dropping and it is at 7. So that shows you that he's one of those players that really have been consistent for Arsenal, not only by playing more games but also putting in those consistently very good performances. So Gabriel Magalhaes, I've gone with him in number 5. In number 4, controversy. Absolute controversy, but I don't think this is really controversial. In number 4, I've gone with Thomas Partey. Now, lads, I think we've got to agree to disagree. Thomas Partey has been the best and most important player in Arsenal. Not the player of the season, not the best player at Arsenal, but the most important player at Arsenal. Take a minute, look at his heat map there on your screen. It only shows you how much distance, how much ground he covers as a player per 90, and this is a player that has been really not because he didn't start the season very well. He started off with these little groin injuries and thigh injuries and things like that, but when he settled in, he really settled well. I can confirm that Thomas Partey has been the best. Not really best. Come on, Arsenal. Come on, Cossy. That is not what I want to say. I want to say the most important player at Arsenal. And I will say that without Thomas Partey, Arsenal are really scared. That's the thing. If you look at his passing accuracy, at least per 90, you can see that it is in the 86%. That is per 90. In his own half, it rises up to 91%, and in the opposition half, then it drops up to 80%. But then that is not a problem. I think what Thomas Partey has given us this season is lots of experience as a player. He has elevated the performances of Martin Odegaard and Granit Xhaka. I don't think Odegaard is a bad player, and I will tell you why when we talk about him. But I think Thomas Partey literally elevates the performance of all the players around him, because the defenders are very confident that they have an outlet in Thomas Partey. When they receive that ball, they know Thomas Partey is going to be very close and to receive that ball, and he's so confident that he can't turn even when he's in between the opponents. He can turn and make those progressive passes, and even if he doesn't turn, he can hold that ball, dribble it, and dribble through pressure, or when he gets that ball, he can return it to probably a defender, probably a fellow midfielder, without panicking and without pressure. That is one of the things he really has as an Arsenal player, and we've seen a couple of games where he's not really been that good, so I cannot say he's been good all through the season. But one thing that we have got from him is that ability to make every player look good, and we've seen this with Granit Xhaka. He's been averaging 85 minutes per 90, creating 2 big chances per 90, and also 81% accuracy on his dribbles. So that shows you that Arsenal really have an engine in him. 0.7 key passes per 90. I think he needs to elevate that for me. I think he's one player that gets those chances, into those spaces to unleash something, and also to create space and good balls for strikers. I think one of the reasons why these key passes for our players are not really low, but they're not coming in as expected, is because we do not have that striker, that target man that they need to target. But Thomas Partey, for me, lads, has been the most important player for Arsenal, and we've seen that when we've been very, very consistent with him, we've been really, really on a very good run. And the moment we actually lost him, before we introduced Mohamed Elneny to the midfield, we actually struggled. So Thomas Partey comes in for me, lads, in number 4. In number 3, I've gone with Martin Odegaard. Now, I think with Martin Odegaard, the credit that he deserves, I do not know. I really do not know how much credit we have to give him, but he's facilitated the Arsenal attack to an extent that, you feel and we feel he is one of the best number 10s in the Premier League. He's been absolutely magnificent. This season he's already scored 6 goals and created 4 assists for the team, and that shows you that his role. And he's been speaking to the media about his role at Arsenal and said, look, my role as a midfielder is to create chances. My role as Martin Odegaard in that Arsenal side is to create chances, and he's done it. He's averaging 2 key passes per 90, and literally that means that he creates almost 2 big chances per 90, because key passes are those passes that either lead to a goal, lead to a shot on goal, or something like that. So he's averaging 2 key passes per 90, and for a player who's having his first full season in the Premier League, you think he's really done well, and he will actually massively improve. And I think personally, Odegaard will improve if Arsenal improve the quality of their midfield, especially if we can get in a central midfielder, maybe like Ruben Neves, maybe like Yves Bissouma, or Yuri Tillemans. I think, because he loves those quick combinations, he loves to play with players who really understand football and can play with him, those 1-2-1-2s, quick combinations at a very, very fast rate. And that's why when you look at his heat map there, it shows you that he's played predominantly on the right hand side of the pitch with Bukayo Saka. And I think all the goals that Saka has scored, you will find that they have a blueprint, or they have a footprint of Martin Odegaard marked on it. But what Odegaard has given us as a team is that creativity that we lacked when Mesut Ozil left the club. It is no longer very blunt up there, and we are no longer very, very predictable. We have a player who is very, very genius, as himself, but also transforms and implements that that genius onto the pitch. So when you look at Martin Odegaard's statistics this season, I think you've got to agree he's having an 85% passing accuracy in his own half. He's having 91%, and in the opposition half is having 85%. I think he's one of the players in this Arsenal side that have the most number of accurate passes in the opposition half. It's very, very hard for a player like Martin Odegaard to have that passing accuracy so high, because he always plays into the enemy territory. He's always playing in the enemy territory, and all eyes are always on him. All eyes are always to stop him. You have the 2 central midfielders and the defensive midfielder around him. Then you have that back line trying to stop his passes all the time. But looking at the fact that he's had 4 assists, 6 goals, and a passing accuracy of up to 85%, I think that is remarkable. The impact of Odegaard on Arsenal's season, for me, is unquestionable. You cannot question it. There is no way anyone can convince me otherwise that Odegaard is known being at least one of the most important players in that Arsenal side. Controversy. Number 4, Emile Smith-Rowe. Yeah, lads, Emile Smith-Rowe. Now, I thought about Emile Smith-Rowe, and I thought about Martinelli, and I thought about Aaron Ramsdale. This one was a very, very hard one for me to choose, but I thought, and I decided I will go with Emile Smith-Rowe because he doesn't get the credit he deserves from the Arsenal fan base, and also from the footballing world as well. Not really because he's not performing well or anything like that, but because he's dropped onto the bench a couple of times where Gabriel Martinelli was filling in for him. we thought he had actually fallen off a cliff, but that was not true. This guy has played 29 games for Arsenal, has only started 20 this season, but he has managed to score 10 goals. Only one player has scored more goals than him, and that is Bukayo Saka, who scored 11, and he has assisted 2 times. And that shows you that, because if you look at Martin Odegaard has actually engaged himself in 10 goals, 10 goals this season directly. That is assisting and scoring. Emile Smith-Rowe, who's played less games and has less stats than Martin Odegaard, has scored more goals, actually 4 more goals than him, and combined he's actually engaged in himself in more goals than Martin Odegaard, which is 12 as compared to Odegaard's 10. I think with Emile Smith-Rowe, I've loved what I've loved about him this season is I think he's the best dribbler for Arsenal. I think he's the best dribbler among the Arsenal forwards. Of course, when it comes to completing dribbles, Thomas Partey is standing at 81%, per 90. But listen to this: among the players playing ahead of Thomas Partey, that is Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Smith-Rowe, Lacazette, and Edin Nketiah, he's the only one that has completed at least 63% of his dribbles. And the reason for that is when you look at Thomas Partey, his dribbling is between his penalty area and the penalty area, probably to the halfway mark of the pitch, and that's where that is when he starts his that's when he starts his distribution and passing. But with Emile Smith-Rowe, his dribbling starts at the halfway mark towards the enemy territory. So you don't expect a team to see you dribbling without creating any defensive action. So I think and I think that is the beauty with Emile Smith-Rowe. And the other thing, obviously, the goals. That is the reason I put him in this team. He deserves the respect. 10 goals this season for this Arsenal side that we know does not have a well-defined number 9. We don't have a prolific goal scorer. Our goal scorer this season has scored 1 more goal than our main centre back. Can you believe that? And our centre back has not taken any penalties this season. So that shows you that any player who scored 10 goals, double figures for Arsenal, needs huge, massive credit. And that's why I've dropped Aaron Ramsdale, not because he's not good enough, not because he's not been part of the best players in the Premier League. I would name him in my Premier League team of the season, and rightly so. He deserves it, despite the fact that we have David De Gea and the likes of Jose Sa, who've really done well. But I think Emile Smith-Rowe, honestly, lads, let's give it to him. He's been one of the most outstanding performers in this Arsenal side. The truth about this is this: when he's coming from the bench, he's had almost the same impact as when he has started, and he gives us another kind of very different dimension on the left hand side of the pitch, especially when we want to play and suffocate the midfield. Because he's a midfielder. He's played at predominantly this season on the left hand side of the midfield, but he has also played at times as a central attacking midfielder. And when Arsenal have always decided that they want some numbers in the midfield, we have excluded Gabriel Martinelli and played Emile Smith-Rowe, and he's really done it well alongside Martin Odegaard in that midfield. So for me, lads, the goals and the performances on and off the pitch are some of the reasons why I've actually, given him that spot. But also, he's made it to the Premier League Team of the Week 3 times. Right? More than any other player at Arsenal, be it Bukayo Saka. Of course, number 1, there is no other. Just guess that. Just give me a guess in the comments. Who do you think is my number 1? There is no question about my number 1, lads. My number 1 is Bukayo Saka. There is a debate. There will be a debate at the end of the season of Arsenal's player of the season, and I would love you to go in the comment section and make me suggestions of who do you think is Arsenal's player of the season. Not most important, but player of the season overall. Who do you think deserves that credit as a player individually? But Bukayo Saka this season, there is what we call being unreal. There is what we call being supernatural. I think he is been supernatural. Coming off, coming off the back of a very, very, saddening, end point in the Euros where he missed that penalty, bullied and booed by, fans in the UK, Arsenal fans, United fans, and UK fans, and you rightly understand. But of course, there's no room for that in football. But Saka, you thought that his spirits were really going to be dampened by that moment, but never. He didn't give it a chance. He's been very phenomenal. Lads, he's been so phenomenal. I don't know of a player who's been very phenomenal this season than him. He's been so good. Arsenal just need to give him more and more. I don't know, just give him more money, more everything. Just give him more everything. I'll definitely not make him my captain. But if you look at Bukayo Saka this season, he's sorry for that. He's engaged in more goals for Arsenal than any other player. 16, scoring 11 and assisting 5 times. That means that he's literally been Arsenal's main source of goals, whether by creating or by assisting. Because how many players have more assists than Saka? Martin Odegaard has only created 4, 1 less, and then Lacazette has created 7 assists for Arsenal. For Arsenal this season. So that means Saka is only short of him by 2. And the point with Bukayo Saka, lads, is he has been there as a player who can give Arsenal individual performances. That is the thing that makes him exceptional and different from the other players. Now we've looked at Martin Odegaard at times when the team is struggling and players are not making those runs, players are not making are not running into the spaces. He has failed to break through the lines at times. We've seen Thomas Partey failing to create anything different in games where it seemed to have it had seemed to have frozen. But Saka, that is what is brought to the table. It has failed, all right, I'll do it myself. This season is averaging 1.9 key passes per 90, and that actually means that with Thomas Partey, Saka, Odegaard, and Emile Smith-Rowe on the pitch, Arsenal literally average at least 7 key passes per 90, and that means that those are almost 5 big chances per game. And I think that really explains why we do not have a striker, but the goals have been really, really coming in. So if we have a striker, this team will actually do much, much better. He creates 8 big chances per 90. Can you believe that? Almost 8 big chances per 90. And look, rightly so, because if you look at the work he does on that right-hand side of the pitch, cutting inside and taking the shots, but also making sure that when he gets onto that penalty area mark, he tries to look for who is in the better position so that he can actually create for him. Those are my top 5 this season. I would love to hear from you. Who are your top 5 in this season and why?